pandemic. Has anybody else ever noticed that since the pandemic, everything's just kind of gone up in price. Inflation's been kind of out of control. And the cost, like oddly enough, like the cost of even like homeowners insurance is ridiculously high. And I was like, what's going on with that? So anyway, I thought that I would kind of, I was sitting there the other day and I was thinking about the past, and I think about the past, present, and future a lot. That's my own little consciousness exercise. I like to think about time. I like to time travel. And I was time traveling back to 1998. And as I did that, I started thinking about how, how things cost had a different cost back in 1998 versus today. So I thought, it will be really interesting to, as a consciousness exercise, kind of understand inflation and what's really happened to the cost of things and really think about inflation not just as a consumer, but also think of inflation as an investor. So first off, let me just say this. Give me a yes if you understand that inflation isn't bad for everybody. If I were to ask you if inflation was good or bad, a lot of you would probably say that it's bad. Well, give me a yes if you can understand why inflation isn't bad for everybody. If you don't know, that's okay. I'll explain it to you right now. Give me a yes if you even knew this already. In case you didn't know, I will tell you, inflation's not bad for everyone. Inflation is bad for consumers. Inflation is bad for people who are buying things. Inflation is bad for people that are trying to either get into the on-ramp of investing, like by buying property or stocks or something. It's also bad for people that are trying to buy consumer goods, like, you know, corn and bread and fried chicken, whatever, right? So don't ever think that everybody hates inflation. Don't ever think that there are not elite people who don't benefit from inflation because, what does inflation do if you're a wealthy person? Well, for wealthy people who already own assets, inflation increases the value of their stuff. There's a special kind of inflation they call asset inflation. And asset inflation is typically unbelievably high, and asset inflation is driven largely by the increase in the value of different assets and all the things that you might own, like real estate. When asset inflation's high, the value of real estate shoots through the roof. Everybody ain't mad about that. There's some people like, "Oh, I'm good. I got mine. We've got generational wealth." My grandparents bought this house in 1920 and they paid $5,000 for it. Now it's worth 1.8 million, right? So there not everybody hates inflation, and that's something that I think you really want to understand when you talk about inflation. And what you really want to do is position yourself and position your family where you are able to do well no matter what the economy looks like. So let me give you some stats and data to kind of help you understand just how crazy the prices have gone. I like 1998 because I just feel like the 90s were like a really awesome time. And the 90s weren't perfect though, because that was also when Diddy started to kind of emerge. And I knew he was a goofball back in 1995, back when Pac got killed. Because I'm the same age as those guys. Tupac's birthday is very close to mine, ironically. And in my interaction with some of the hip hop guys, like Ice Cube and I found out our birthdays were very close. We're both Geminis. Um, and then also what was the other one? Dame Dash. Dame Dash's birthday is close to mine too. And I said, you're slightly older than me, and you keep talking to me like I'm your little brother. And he said, that's because I'm the big brother. I was born a month earlier. I was like, oh, get out of here with that nonsense. But anyway, but yeah, so we're all kind of in the same age bracket, right? And at that time, I saw hip hop kind of getting weird a little bit. And I didn't enjoy watching Tupac get killed because my best friend Greg Wilkins got murdered around the same time as Pac. So it was a really tough time to be a black man, to be honest with you. There's a lot of death, a lot of incarceration, a lot of pain. We were already marginalized, but that is a consistent condition, I think, for any racially conscious black man or black woman, is that society doesn't really always have a place for you. That's why I think we have to be entrepreneurs, build our own businesses, invest, own land, own property, go back to what the ancestors did, stop doing what the new Negroes are telling us to do because that's not working for us. DEI, affirmative action, that's all nice and good. It's cool. It's a good start, but that should not be where you finish. It's okay to do, whatever you got to do to get by, but you got to have a long-term plan. So long story short, this is what I think about. So let's go back to 1998 and let's look at some of the prices of things in 98. And I want you to compare it to today. And then there is a financial consciousness exercise here that's connected to this. So y'all ready? Y'all ready? All right. So here we go. In 1998, they said here, this is this is a little table that I pulled together. Apparently, a gallon of milk was about $2.50. Now, a gallon of milk is about $4. A dozen eggs was about $1. Now they're at $3.50. A loaf of bread was $1.20. Now it's $3. Ground beef was $2 a pound. Now it's $6 a pound. A whole chicken was about $4. Now a whole chicken at the grocery store is $12. Now, gas was $1.15 a gallon, which was crazy. It was a lot of money back then, right? I don't know if anybody else. I had a hoopty, and I would drive my hoopty around with on a quarter tank. It just stayed on a quarter tank. That was it. Just didn't go. The little gas thing didn't go past a quarter tank, half a tank, maybe if I was having a good week. But that was kind of how you lived back then. And now it's $3.80 a gallon, but actually over 4 and 5 in some places. A new sedan in 1998 was about $15,000. Now it's about 30,000. Rent on a two-bedroom apartment in 1998 was about $600. You can get you a nice place for $600. I actually had a place that was 400, 450, and I liked it. Now you got to pay $1,500. Electricity bills were about $70 per month back then. Now they're $150. The water bill was $25. Now it's doubled to 50. Cell phone bill, but most people didn't have cell phone plans back then because a lot of us didn't have cell phones. But about $30 back then, $60 now. Back then, internet was about $20. Now it's 70. A movie ticket was $4.50. Now it's about $12. What else? The average pair of shoes was $50. Now it's about 120. Jeans, $25 back then, $60 today. A t-shirt, $10, then $20 now. Doctor's visit without insurance was $50 then. Now it's 150, triple that amount. And if you want to get a fresh haircut, you had to pay at least you had to pay about $12 back then. They said the average now is $30. But I know some people who actually pay more than $30. I don't know if y'all know that. How many of y'all know people that go get their haircut and they're paying I've seen people talk about as much as, $100 to get a haircut. And thankfully I don't have to worry about that. I cut my hair this morning and it was free. And so it cost me a razor and some shaving cream. That's it. That's it. So I cut that expense out of my budget. My life has not been the same since. So anyway, the idea here, the point here, the reason I brought that up is because I think that you want to understand that the cost of everything's kind of going up, okay? It just is, okay? And the reality is that this is not going to stop. This is not going to stop. This week was a big week in investing. A lot of you that are in the stock market program, or who invest consistently, you're aware the Federal Reserve just reduced interest rates, sorry, for the first time in a very long time, and they basically cut the federal funds rate by a quarter point. A lot of people thought they cut by a half a point. A lot of people thought they were going to do a quarter point, but they cut by half a point, which was really big. It was a positive gift to the stock market. If you were a consistent investor, you had money put in your bank account because of what the Federal Reserve did. Raise your hand if you made more money because the Fed cut interest rates. Give me a yes. I hope a lot of you are saying yes, because I really kind of need you all to be investors. I need you to be participants in this stock market. I really am hopeful that I'm not going to see a bunch of no's or a bunch of like not non-answers, because I really need you guys participating in the stock market. I really do, because that's just essential for wealth building. It's very difficult to save your way to wealth. Impossible, really, almost impossible for most people. It's almost impossible to work your way to wealth. You have to invest your way to wealth. So think of the stock market like a super highway where the cars are going 70 miles an hour. You can run really fast on the side streets, but you're still not going to go as fast as a car going 70 miles an hour. That's just what it is. And as I show you the cost of everything and how it's changed, in the last, whatever, 30 years or so, one thing you'll also notice is that the wages haven't kept up with the cost of hardly anything, right? It's harder now for a person to survive financially than it was in 1998. And if you continue down that same trajectory, it's going to be harder in 30 years, 20 years than it is right now. The year 2054 is going to be so difficult that people are going to look back at 2024 and say, damn, wow, they had it so easy back then. right? The same way you look and you say, man, people in 1998 only had to pay $1.15 for gas. That's so great for them. Or people back in 1998 only had to pay $600 for a two-bedroom apartment. Oh, that's amazing. I wish I could do that. So the same way you're looking at them now and you're saying, gosh, I wish I had what they had. People in 2054 are watching this video right now and they're saying, damn, I wish I could go back to 2024. It was so much cheaper back then. You can actually get an apartment for under $2,000 a month. My apartment's 5,000 a month and I live in the hood. You know, oh my God, you could buy a nice house for under $1 million. Wow, my house costs 4 million and I live in a bad neighborhood, or I had to work like crazy to get here, or whatever, right? Or my dad bought his house for 800,000 back in 2024. Now it's worth 3.2 million, right? So effectively, what's going to happen is that inflation isn't going to go away. When you saw the Fed um, increase interest rates, or sorry, reduce interest rates. I keep getting that number wrong. It's early. Forgive me. I haven't had all my coffee yet. Um, One thing that you want to know is that they're not eradicating inflation. They're not going to get rid of it. Their goal is to maintain it below a certain level. Their goal is to hit a target rate of about 2.5%. So once they got to 2.5% on the inflation rate, that's when they said, okay, we're good. We don't have to do anything else. We're not going to keep hammering away at it until it's gone. We're going to hammer away at it until it's under control. So everything's going to keep on going up in price. And what you don't want to do, the generational curse that you don't want to pass to your kids, the financial STD that you don't want your family to possess at birth, is that of being a consistent consumer and a worker without being an owner, investor, or producer. That's what you don't want to do. If you don't, if your children, grandchildren, people behind you in the afterlife are still stuck as consumers and laborers and spenders and borrowers, they're going to be screwed by this economy. This economy is designed to screw people that are not financially prepared. It's designed to screw people who work for a living. It's designed to screw people who buy things for a living. And I don't know how that sounds. Maybe it sounds harsh. Maybe I could have said that nicer. But the only thing I know is to be honest with you. And so you have to invest. You have to. You buy the stocks now, and I talked about 2054. You buy the stuff, you sit on it, like a goose sitting on an egg. You let that stuff grow. Right now, the Dow is about 42,000. Based on the trajectory of history, the Dow will be at 100,000 by 2054, right? Or probably beyond 100,000, maybe 150,000. I don't even know. In fact, if I was to pull up the history of the Dow, let me just pull this up. The Dow is the measure of the stock market, by the way, one of the measures. All right, let me see here. Let me see if I can find a graph to show you the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Right now, it's 41,889. I think it briefly crossed 42,000, which was a big milestone. Let me show you the history. This shows you what kind of wealth you're building for your family if you're consistently and assertively investing in the stock market. So here the Dow is, first off, I want you to look at this. Look at the last year. The Dow's 41,889. It's grown by 21% this year. That means that those of you who are invested consistently, your wealth increased without you doing anything. When I say how to make money without working, I mean how to make money without working. You didn't do any of that work. You didn't run any of those companies. I own shares in Merck and Nvidia and all these companies, and I don't know nothing about microchips. I didn't show up for one day at work at Jensen Huang's company. I did not punch one single time clock at UPS, but I made money from the growth in the value of UPS. I made money from the growth in the value of Apple. I made money from the growth in the value of Marathon Digital. I made money from the growth in the value of probably 200 companies run by people I will never meet my entire life. How about that? How gangster is that? That's a flex, y'all. Tell me, is that a flex? Did I just flex on? Did I flex on them fools? Did I flex? Thank you. So we're gonna call that the Dr. Boyce flex, and we're all gonna do this flex. We're all gonna do it. I want you all making money, and I want you to get used to the idea that you don't have to be a field slave to get a couple of nickels in your pocket. What you do is you're gonna have to grind. You got to work hard. We all work hard. I work hard every day. I love to work hard every day. Hard work is a great value and a great virtue to carry. But I want you to be in a point where your money is working harder than you are. That's what's important. Okay. So look at this. Look at the Dow. 41,889. Goes back a year. Go back 5 years. Look at the growth in 5 years, 55%. So that means that people who just consistently put their money in the stock market in S&P 500 companies and blue chip stocks saw their wealth go up by 55%. They made thousands of dollars in most cases, it may be millions. It depends on how much you invested. And their money grew without them going to work, punching the clock, doing any of that stuff. Go back now. Let's look at the long-term trend. Let's go back to 1998. Where was the Dow in 1998? August 21st, 1998. Now, mind you, the Dow is at 41,930. Look at where it was in 1998. Do you see that number? Can y'all see it? 8,533.65. 8,500. At that time, the idea of the Dow hitting 10,000 was absolutely outrageous. It was, I mean, look at the trajectory up until that point. I mean, just a few years earlier, at the start of the 90s, the Dow was at 2,700. So at this point, this is where consciousness comes into play. Consciousness is perspective. Perspective means seeing the big picture, the long picture, seeing the future, seeing the past. People in 1990 that had no perspective could not even imagine in their wildest dreams the Dow being 5,000, let alone 10,000, 20,000, 41,930. If you went back 30 years ago to 1994, when the Dow was 3,894 and said, Dad, Mom, we got to invest because the Dow is at 3,800. I was in the future. I was in the year 2024, and the Dow is at 41,930. They would have looked at you and searched your pockets to find the crack pipe that you've been smoking since that morning because clearly, Negro, you done lost your damn mind. You literally would look insane to go back to 1994 and to tell those people in 94 that the Dow Jones Industrial Average was going to be 41,930 in your year in the future, 2024. That they would say that's not, I can't, that no, the Dow is so high, it can't go any higher. That's what they would say. They were literally like, it's so high. How can we invest in that? I mean, it's gonna eventually go down because it's so high. 3,800 ain't nothing. I would give anything to go back to 1994 and pour all my money into the stock market, just knowing how much money I would have made just by sitting there and waiting. So, what I want you to understand, and this is our consciousness exercise, is the same way that 41,000 would have looked insane and ridiculous to people sitting at 3,800. Well, 30 years from now, whatever number that Dow is going to be in the year 2054 would look ridiculous to you. You would look at that number and say, "There's no, that's not, no, that it can't be what 300,000, 280. No, that's not possible. That's not possible." And what I want you to also understand too, this is at least how I think. This is how my brain works. The people in the future are watching us. They're looking at us right now. They're watching through they probably got some like 3D shit or something, maybe a hologram or something where they can watch this video in 3D and literally be in the same room with us or whatever, right? And they're watching all this. They're looking at us and they're like, "Oh, look at those people. They think they're so advanced. They think they're the fancy new high-tech Negroes and their technology is literally a joke to us." Like think about this. Think about how you look at 1994 and the technology of 1994. It looks stupid, it looks goofy. It's like they didn't even have cell phones. They had these pagers, and the rappers would be flexing on their album covers, and they would have a cell phone that's like bigger than a walkie-talkie. You know what I'm talking about? Like Nas when he had the Illmatic cover where he's got the big old cell phone, and he thought he was really cool, but it looks goofy. It's hilarious now, right? Well, you are also equally hilarious to the future. We're no matter how cool we try to be, how trendy we try to be. My father used to think he was cool in the 1970s, back when they had the black exploitation movies coming out, and he would have some big bell bottoms on and a big old afro and a hat like cocked to the side with a feather in it with a big old long fur coat. And he thought he was the coolest thing ever. And we look at those pictures and we just crack up. It's absolutely hilarious. So just accept the fact that you're going to be hilarious to the future. They're looking at us now and they're laughing at the fact that at least we're conscious enough to know how hilarious we're going to look. Don't try to fix it. It's not going to work. The best you can do is have some acknowledgement of the fact that you're ignorant and hilarious compared to the future. They know things we don't know. The trends are going to change. They have technology that we'll never have, that we can't even fathom. They have a reality that they live in that we can't even processed properly. But there are some basics that you can pay attention to, and here are those things. Like Olita Adams said, when she said everything must change except rain comes from a cloud, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds do fly. So what's going to be consistent in 30 years that we know isn't going to go away? Well, white folks going to keep on being white. We know this. Racism is not going to go away. They probably won't like black people much more in 2054 than they like us now. Wealth is going to matter. Wealth, it has been around for millions of years. For a million years or however many years the human beings have been on this earth. Maybe it's a quarter million, I don't know. Wealth has always mattered, right? The accumulation of assets and resources has always mattered. So basically, putting your money into um, real assets and stocks and whatever you can to invest while you can, while it's cheap, while it doesn't cost as much as it's going to cost in the future, we know that that's a winning strategy. You understand? Like, you don't have to have advanced technology to know that investing always works. My wife bought her first house with by cashing in World War II savings bonds that were bought by her great great grandfather in 1945, because he knew. He said, you know what? I don't know nothing about the future. He probably couldn't even visualize his great grandchildren in 2024, but he's like, I know they're going to need some money. So let me go ahead and seize the moment and take advantage of the fact that I'm the only one in this family, other than me and my peers, who has the opportunity to make an investment in 1942. My children born in my grandchildren born in 1978, they won't have this opportunity. I have the opportunity. I have the window into the universe. I can access the economic wormhole to go ahead and make this transaction while the door is open. Because when they're born, that door will be shut. You understand that? Like, when you had a chance to invest in the stock market in 1994, for those of you that are old enough, those who are young, maybe you weren't even born yet, but a lot of you, I know a lot of you are old enough to have invested in 1994. That wormhole shut. We can sit here and we can sing songs about 1994. We can reminisce. We can dream about it, think about it, but we can't go back. That wormhole shut, and we missed the opportunity. There's that word opportunity. And what does poor stand for? What does the word poor, Poor, stand for? Passing over opportunities repeatedly. Passing over opportunities repeatedly. And what happens when we pass over opportunities is that sometimes we get mad at ourselves. We kick ourselves. We say, "Man, dang, I could have bought me some Apple stock in 1997 for $1. Damn. Now it's 200 something dollars. I missed it. I could have bought Bitcoin." I saw a video where there was a guy. There was a heist. Did y'all know that there was a big Bitcoin heist? It was a little Asian kid with three of his friends. They stole $250 million worth of Bitcoin, right? And they got caught because you shouldn't be out here robbing people. You're gonna get busted. But here's the crazy part. I looked at how many Bitcoin that was, and it was like I think it was like 4,000 Bitcoin or something. I think it was 4,000. Did I do the math right? 4 million. Yeah, about 4,000 Bitcoin. And I was thinking, I'll be damned. I could have bought 4,000 Bitcoin in 2013 for about probably $500. Like, I mean, can you? And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Every now and then, you have these time travelers who are canaries in the mine, who have the consciousness to see the future, and they tell you they're talking. They tell you what to do, and we ignore it because there's so much noise. You don't know who to believe and who not to believe. But y'all remember, I told y'all about, there was that one black man who has a video where in 2013 he was begging black people to buy Bitcoin. Does anybody know about that guy? Anybody remember that guy? There was one guy who literally was like, please. He's like, please, he's he kind of talked like y'all probably didn't pay attention because he was kind of nerdy. He didn't know how to sound black. He didn't speak with no ebonics, so he wasn't no rapper talking like this. He do so didn't nobody pay attention. But because he was kind of like a guy that probably went to like a white school. But I like him. I thought he's smart. He's like, come on guys, you gotta just pull out a freaking dollar, get a friggin' dollar, and just get $10, just buy $10 of Bitcoin. It's $1. Just buy a couple. Just buy a few. I promise you, you won't regret. He begged people online to buy Bitcoin. And the problem is that sometimes we don't hear the signal. Sometimes God is sending you opportunity. God is opening the wormhole. God is sending you wealth. He's sending you a message, and you can't hear it because we get so distracted by the nonsense, or we get so distracted by the little things. So I really believe that consciousness really is getting closer to God. You're really able to hear the universe because I think that a conscious person who's thinking about the future would have said, you know what? Let me spend $30. I'm about to spend $30 at Applebee's. Instead of going to Applebee's, let me buy 50 of these little Bitcoins and just put them somewhere and see what happens. I know somebody who did that. I know a man who was smart enough to listen to his wife. That's why you gotta listen to smart black women. And his wife said she saw something on TV in 2013 where they did said something about this new cryptocurrency or something. And there were all these enthusiasts who really believed in Bitcoin. And she said, "Yeah, you should buy some of this. You should buy some of this Bitcoin." And he's like, "Okay." And he bought some. He bought like $100 worth. So he ended up buying like maybe 200 coins and he forgot he even owned them. And then one day he wakes up and realizes that his 200 Bitcoin was worth millions of dollars. I don't know how many millions it was when he finally realized that, but he literally made the investment and didn't think about it. And why did he end up in that situation? Well, yeah, he got lucky, but he also got lucky because of his economic culture, his habits. His culture and his habits shaped him as an investor. He was thinking like an investor. He would just buy stuff. Just okay, sure, I'll buy it. Yeah, I'll invest in that. I mean, it's better than wasting my money. And that's why, for example, when we're talking, sometimes there are times where I'll just buy stock and I'll buy it in 30 seconds and I'll forget that I bought it. And I do that to show you guys that it doesn't have to be something that you overthink, but it has to become something that becomes a habit. Because at some point, something that you just happen to buy without even thinking about it is going to skyrocket in price. This happened to me a bunch of times. It happened with Nvidia. I bought Nvidia because our son was like, "Yeah, you should buy this company Nvidia." I was like, "Why?" He said, "Because they make the chips for the video games I play." And I was like, "Okay, I got some extra money in my portfolio." So I bought a few shares. And then next thing you know, that $5,000 investment turned into $100,000, right? So you got to be in the game if you want to have a chance to win. And a lot of people lose because they weren't even in the game in the first place. The stock market is the game that you have to be in if you are serious about wealth building. So what I really kind of want you to do is give me a yes in the chat right now. I don't often ask you to promise me something, but I want you to give me a yes to tell me that you're going to do everything you can to become a consistent investor. You just take a little bit of that extra money. And if you really want to be aggressive, like you can't be too aggressive with this, in my opinion. Take that extra money, don't just spend it, live your life, but to just make sure you're planting those seeds, plant those seeds, plant those seeds, plant those seeds. And then what will happen is you will have a harvest, you will have abundance, you will have financial security. And financial security brings peace, it brings power, it brings happiness, it brings freedom, it brings all the things that we talk about wanting as Black people. But the reason we never get them is because we think that the only way to get them is to go beg white people to give them to us. I don't like that. Don't get me wrong. Y'all owe us money. They owe us reparations, and I will be expecting payment. And if you don't pay me, I'm gonna be mad at you. But until then, I'm gonna go and create the abundance for myself. I'm gonna go and give myself some repair so that when you finally do write that check for reparations, I'll know exactly where to invest it. Okay. All right. So anyway, before I move on, just a reminder, don't forget, guys, the All Black National Convention is a little more than a month away. I'm going to bring it up a lot. I hope that's okay. We're having an informational session. I want to say early next week, where you can come in, ask questions. We can talk about the A, B, and C, what you guys want to do there, what you want to see, what it's going to be like, and how to get around the hotel and what's there. So that's going to happen soon. I'll text you all a link to join the informational session if you are on the text list. So make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I'll send that to you. Also, let's see here. What else? Oh, the other thing too is we did add a new Dr. Claude Anderson book to the bookstore called Black Labor, White Wealth. That's going to be actually available, I think, next week. I think Micah and the team are going to put it in the bookstore. So if I know a lot of you have Powernomics, but you should also go to powernomics.com. Dr. Anderson has a bundle of books there. But if you happen to be in our bookstore, which is drboycebooks.com, we've got a lot of different books and educational materials for your family, things for your kids. I really want to see your kids get ahead financially. And so feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. My wife's books are there as well. She's a therapist and she can help us with this mental health thing that we're dealing with. All right. So what I want to do is give you a chance to ask some questions. The Q&A section in the Zoom chat is where you can put your question. And I want you guys to put a question there. While you put your question in there, I'm going to actually grab one of the stocks that I put on the list of what Dr. Boyce is buying. And I'll let you guys, I'm going to open up my portfolio now. I have one on E-Trade. I have multiple portfolios in different places, and E-Trade is one of my medium-term investment portfolios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a stock while you guys put your question in the Q&A. And if you're not inside the Zoom, get on the text list and you can come into the private Zoom where I'll see your question. You can get on the text list by texting the word morning to the number 87948. All right. Let's see. So here's a company that I like, that I am actually gonna buy more shares of right now. I already own some shares. I think the market's down a little bit today. I didn't, let me see here. I'm gonna check just to see. I expect it to be down. It's been going up so much the last few days since the Fed announcement. It should be going down. Yes, down a little bit. By the Dow's down by 77 points. The S&P is down by less than 0.5%. So it's not a big drop, but just a little bit. There's a company called Applied Digital that I happen to like, APLD. APLD is the ticker symbol. And I'm going to actually buy some more shares of Applied Digital. So again, this is not investing advice ever. I do not give investing advice. But Applied Digital, APLD, is a stock that I'm literally buying more shares in right now. And by the way, somebody's asking what's the number. It's you text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. It's 87948. Somebody type 87948 in the chat for me if you could. All right, and the shares don't cost that much. They're $5 and 70 something cents per share. So I think I'm gonna just grab 100 shares real quick. And let me see here. All right, it cost me $5.81. All right, I'm confirming the purchase there. All right, done. All right, so that's that. All right, now let me hop in and look at some of your questions. And if you could make your questions like one sentence, and that way I can answer as many as possible, and put them in the Q&A section. Don't put them in the chat because I won't see them in chat. I'm gonna look in the Q&A section. All right, so good morning. Hello from Black Boston, says Miss Coleman. I missed the sale, the options class. Is this discount available? Still available? I hope I did not miss it. The options class. Are you talking about Prime? Our stock options income class? If that's what you're referring to, then you can actually, if you text the word money to 87948, it'll send you back a link to a training called How to Make Money Without Working. And at the end of that training, there's an opportunity to join the Prime class at a good price. So you can feel free to just text the word money to 87948. And if that doesn't work, you can also email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can take good care of you and get you started. So email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. AC Salam says, does it affect dividend payments? I don't know what does what affect. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know what you mean by does it affect dividend. I don't know what it is. So maybe ask it again. Tell me what it is and I'll answer that for you. Let's see here. What does the number reflect? Are you talking about, oh, the Dow? Yeah, the Dow is a problem because it's a price weighted average, which means that stocks that have higher prices get weighted more heavily than stocks with lower prices. But the problem is that the price is arbitrary. A company can choose whatever price they want their stock to be. It's like a pizza. You know, if you can choose how big you want the pieces to be, no matter how big the pizza is, you can make tiny slices or you can make big slices. So you can't say that the pizza with the big slices are bigger pizzas. No, they just are cut different, right? So shares are basically pizza slices of a company that get sold as ownership, and that's kind of how that works. So yeah, so the Dow is not the best indicator of how the stock market's doing. It's the S&P. The S&P is a stronger indicator. Janet Milner, hey, Dr. Boyce, wanted to know, do Prime students have to pay for what Dr. Boyce is buying? No, you do not. So if you are a Prime member, you have access to what Dr. Boyce is buying. And actually, I'm gonna actually put some more stuff in there soon, but there's a lot of stocks in there that I like. And so if you're looking for stuff to invest in and you want to kind of follow along, feel free to log in. Use your Prime login, drboyceprime.com. Right. So let's see. What are your thoughts on CRBP this morning? The stock is down quite a bit. CRBP. I don't know. Oh, is that Corbis Pharmaceuticals? Let me see. CRBP. Let's see here. Yep. Well, you know what? Typically, when a pharmaceutical company collapses, it's because they had a clinical trial. Oh, yeah, buddy. Ooh, down 63%. Woo! Now, remember in class, we talked about those pharmaceutical companies. You got to really watch out for those because they have a lot of what you call jump risk. They can jump from one price to the next like that. So here you see this stock just absolutely collapsed. This is for some reason this is in euros. I don't know why this is in euros, but anyway, look at the percentages. So this stock dropped from here down to here. So that means so typically a stock does not move that much without some sort of news. So there can be. It's almost impossible for a stock to move that much by itself in a vacuum without some significant news. So what that probably means is that Corbis had some sort of a big announcement, maybe a clinical trial that did not go well, and now the stock has collapsed. The way you protect against that is you have to you have to have those put options. So I do own Corbis. I had puts in place specifically to deal with that. And so I'm going to look at my portfolio later, check out the carnage because I probably lost a little bit, but you don't lose as much if you buy puts because puts go up in value when the price goes down. So even though my stock price dropped, my puts went kaboom, right? So that's what I'm expecting to see when I open up my portfolio. Is Robinhood a decent platform for investing? Asked Marcy. I like Robinhood. I use it for selling stock options. That's how I make my income every week. Octavia, what companies would you recommend for beginners to build their portfolio? If you go to blackwealthmasterplan.com, that's blackwealthmasterplan.com. That is your $5 a day plan. That's investing on training wheels that'll get you going, get your kids going, very easy. We're literally leaning on the monkey story where they taught the monkeys how to invest and they made it so simple even a monkey could do it. And I know all of you are much smarter than monkeys for sure. So I want to make it as simple as possible so you don't let any fear get in the way of you doing what I believe that you need to do. You have to invest. Even a person who randomly just literally, even a person who closed their eyes and picked an S&P 500 stock and just added it to their portfolio every time they got paid is going to have far more wealth than a person who lets their fear keep them from investing at all. It's that it sounds crazy to say that, but I'm qualified because I researched this stuff. There are financial theories on this. People won Nobel Prizes proving these things. So all I want to do is get you past the fear so you can start making that move. All right. Is Nuri Muhammad Thomas says, is Nuri Muhammad's book in the store, Mathematics of the Mind? No, it's not. I believe it's at his website, nurimuhammad.com. But Brother Nuri did agree to teach a class in the Black Business School. He's the kind of faculty that we're looking for, that we want to collaborate with. And so Brother Nuri is going to teach a class. I believe George Fraser is going to come in as well. And these are just, to me, these are the teachers in the community that I admire. So I'll let you guys know when Brother Nuri comes in because you all saw him the other day. He's extraordinary. He's one of the greatest Black leaders on this planet. That's how much respect I have for Brother Nuri Muhammad. Let's see here. What do you think about RELI stock, Aquila? I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really give you an assessment of it. But when we do Stock Market Tuesdays, if you give me stocks, I can look them up on the fly. But right now, I don't have the information to assess that stock. So let's see. What vehicle to use to buy stock? You can use a lot of brokerages. There are, the simplest ones are probably Cash App and Robinhood, but then there's Stash Acorns, E-Trade, Schwab. Schwab has excellent customer service. E-Trade's customer service is pretty good too. So any of those can work. Orlando, can you explain the PE ratio? Yes, that is the price earnings ratio. That's where you take the price of the stock, you divide by how much money they made. So what it does is a kind of a leverage effect, right? It kind of shows you how big the price is compared to how much money they've made. So new companies that have a lot of potential have a very high PE ratio, which means that it's almost like when you signed a basketball player in the NBA to $100 million contract, but they haven't even taken a single shot. Well, that's that asset, that player as an asset has a high PE ratio because you're paying lots of money not for things that have actually happened, but you're paying for things that you believe are going to happen. You're paying based on expectations. So high PE stock is a stock that has very high expectations, like a young rookie in the NBA. But like a lot of that, a lot of those young rookies, if he doesn't play well or he gets injured, then that value can collapse. His stock can collapse because his expectations are heavily impacted by a poor performance. Whereas a stock with a lower PE ratio might be a more mature company that is already making, big money, that's already doing well, like Coca-Cola and ExxonMobil. They're not young rookies. They've been in the game. They're making the money. These are the LeBron Jameses of stocks. Coca-Cola is going to show up. They're going to give you so many billions of dollars in earnings every quarter, but they're not going to double in price on you. So they're not built on expectations. They're built on realizations and results. But these companies don't grow as much. Their value is already impounded, similar to, like I said, like a LeBron James. Jamila, hi from Los Angeles. Good morning, Jamila. Do you see a potential bubble or reset? Yeah, I do. I think it's going to happen soon. The problem is nobody knows when it's going to occur. So you just have to invest consistently until then. Maybe you park some cash on the side if you think that the bubble could happen, or you also might, have some put options or something to protect your portfolio. But you can't sort of sit and wait for the bubble to burst because you might be waiting for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Linda Brown, good morning, Dr. Boyce. Just got on the call. What stock did you just purchase? It was Applied Digital, APLD. APLD is the ticker. So somebody type APLD in the chat, please. That way everybody can have it. APLD. Claudia, greetings, Dr. Boyce. Along with buying shares consistently, should we also have spare money available to buy shares when the price goes down? Yeah, sometimes keeping money to the side is good to be able to make moves. That's why I think a great financial plan is when you have your assets where you're investing your surplus income into those assets, but then also working with family and friends to develop side hustles or ways to generate income so you have money to put into the stock market, right? Income is not wealth. Income is not wealth. We measure financial success typically based on income, like, oh, he makes 100,000 a year, or I want a six-figure man that makes a certain amount of money. I would prefer, I mean, if you're going to be a gold digger, at least dig for gold in the right way. Like dig for real gold, don't dig for fake gold. So to me, a better statement would be instead of saying I want a man who makes a quarter million a year, I would say I want a man who owns property. I want a man who owns assets. I want a man who owns stock, right? I want a man with a net worth of a certain level. A net worth is a greater indicator of financial stability than income. Because if somebody's just throwing their income away, then that's a waste. That's only going to frustrate you because you get comfortable making a certain amount of money because you got this good black job, but then when they take that job away, you're done. You're fried. You're going from high status to poverty or economic comfort to economic despair and financial stress and anxiety, which is a horrible, horrible feeling. I'd rather be poor the whole time than to be rich to think I'm rich and then suddenly have to be poor again. I'd rather just be poor the whole time, right? But so if you're going to be rich the right way, get financial security, get the income, right? But then use that income to stack your nuts, store your nuts for the winter, so you can create what they call smoothing of your income, which means that when you run into what economists refer to as shocks to your situation, things change, you lose your job, your property value drops, stock market crashes, you're not going to be sort of rocked too hard. You're going to be pretty stable because you're going to say, okay, well, I lost my job, but I've got $500,000, in home equity and stock and my retirement plan. So that is going to allow me to still live where I live and maintain stability for me and the kids during that difficult time. Do you understand? So that to me is like people think that it's risky to like be an entrepreneur or to be an investor, and I get that it is risky. There is risk, but I think it's extremely risky to live paycheck to paycheck with a job where one person can make a decision that ruins your whole life. Like I think that's really risky, especially when that person's not black like you. Come on, let's just be honest. They don't like black people like that. They really don't. You will be the last hired and the first fired. Y'all know this. You know this. I'm not making this up, right? So why would you want to be in that risky situation? I believe that similar to like Diddy, how Diddy's having everything taken away from him after he got comfortable. I think it's almost like they lure you into a false sense of security. They do. They get you comfortable, like, "Oh, you're good. We like you, Tyrone. We gonna keep you forever." And they make these promises, and you're like, "Oh, they like me. Racism's dead. Racism's a thing of the past." And then the next thing you know, Tyrone has no job, and he doesn't even know what happened. It blindsides him. It's very traumatic. It's very traumatic to have it and then lose it all. It's like falling in love and you're gonna get married and you think she's gonna be there with you forever, and then she comes in and stabs you in the face. Like that's just mean. That's bad. All right. So anyway, let me keep going here. All right. So let's see. Christopher Garland says, I enrolled in the 30-day options class and I haven't been able to join the class. Okay. Well, if you haven't been able to join yet, email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They will take good care of you. Support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Keep that email address. There are people there waiting to hear from you. They will talk to you. They will support you, help you do whatever you got to do. So feel free to keep that email address around. Don't forget, it's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Amani's right there right now, and she can help you with whatever you're struggling with. If there's anything that you have to adjust or fix. Let's see here. Okay, so Terrence, you're asking about a stock. Yeah, let's save that for Stock Market Tuesdays. We do that on Tuesday. Those of you that join the Black Stock Market program, you'll get an invitation to come in, and and there's a link where you can leave me questions, and I'll answer them that way. And also, you can come to class and we can rattle away, and I'll have my little phone right there, and I'll look up all the stocks you want me to look up. All right, so let's see here. Okay, my name is Tyrone. That's exactly how it happened to me. But I was already invested in the market. Okay, Ty. Well, it says Ty. I see Ty Allen, but Tyrone, that's kind of funny. Yeah, like see, that's what they really do to Tyrone. You better call Tyrone to let Tyrone teach you how to invest. All right, so Sharon says, what's the best stock to buy if I have only $1,000 to $2,000 to invest? I think starting off with mutual funds is a great way to go. Go to blackwealthmasterplan.com and there's some mutual funds that I recommend. One is the ticker symbol SPY, Sierra Papa Yankee SPY, and that's the S&P 500 what they call the Spider Index. That's a great long-term investment. Willa says, good morning. Let's see here. I just joined B1 Monthly. So there's a difference between this and the prime class. Yeah, the prime class is stock options income. Primarily, that's primarily the focus. That's one of the premium programs in the Black Business School. And so if you want to learn more about it, you can go to drboyceprime.com. The $7 a month option is something that's there where we give you a taste of the Black Business School. You give you some things that you can try out and lots of knowledge. And that access pass is only temporarily available because unfortunately we can't run the Black Business School with everything being $7. Like that was a price point that we just said, okay, we'll do this for one day just to kind of for those who are really struggling and really want to kind of try out what we're doing so we can know that we're the best. But the Prime program has an annual fee of about 800 and something dollars or something that it's reduced from 29.99. I encourage you to compare it to, other stock options programs. Some of them are charging 5, 10, $20,000 a year. A lot of you have seen these programs, and these people don't know what they're talking about half the time. It's kind of unfortunate. And also you compare it to college. I mean, college is insanely expensive. So I'm a college professor, and I created the Black Business School because I wanted us to have a space where we can learn, where the fee wouldn't cost that much. But we can't do everything for free, just because to do it for free, we'd have to take corporate sponsorship or government money, and that would unfortunately undermine the purpose of what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure we're teaching Black wealth in the way that it needs to be taught without any interference from anybody. So there is no selling out here. But the trade-off of not selling out is that you have to pay your own bills. Freedom is not free. And so that's how we've operated the Black Business School for about the last almost 10 years now. We're almost at the 10-year anniversary, and we've been able to reach millions of people around the world. We have 159,000 students around the globe, so we're as big as any HBCU out there. And I think we're more effective when it comes to teaching Black wealth, Black economic building, powernomics related concepts that allow us to really develop the kind of economic infrastructure that we need as a community. We're not here just to show you how to get another Black job. That's fine. We support you. We have people that can help you with that, and we have no shame, no disrespect for that at all. But I want you to go to the next level. I want to be the economic coach that pushes you to be the best you can be, that pushes you to create a whole culture that leads to true Black excellence, true Black economic excellence. And excellence is going to require work. Excellence requires sacrifice. It requires commitment, investment. It requires us to say, okay, you know what? Instead of me just always working for the owner, maybe I can be the owner. Maybe my kids can be the owner. Maybe our family can be the owner. There's money everywhere. This society, this country, sometimes the racial conversations are good and it's important to be aware, but sometimes we get so bogged down in scarcity and what we can't do and what they won't let us do and everything else that we forget about the abundance that's also around us. If you're standing in front of me, I can sit there and complain that you're blocking the way, or I can go around you, over you, under you, maybe go through you, whatever I got to do. The idea that we will just sit here and almost act like we're in some sort of a prison is not beneficial. That's not going to help you solve the problem. And I don't care what anybody says. There are opportunities for Black people who know how to think properly, but there are no opportunities for the Black person that feels like they have to get a white man's permission before they can go get $1 in their pocket. That is not how you become the best you can be. You can't live with that ceiling, the racial ceiling that exists. That ceiling, like, oh, the only way I can make more money is if they give me a raise. No, there's a billion ways you can make money. And what happens is if you learn how to make your own money and cut out the damn middleman, then you'll find in some cases, some of you have seen this, you'll make 10 times more money by getting your own path than you'll ever get by whatever little scraps and crumbs and little opportunities they want to give you. And this is really critical to understand, I think, especially given that things like DEI and all that are being removed. They're wiping that out. Corporations don't even pretend to value diversity anymore. So, long story short, I think building is the solution. That's what I believe. That's our philosophy. That's what we do, and we're the best on earth at this particular thing because we don't apologize for it. We don't have anybody we have to please. We don't have anybody we're afraid of. We get it done. Period. All right. So the ticker symbol is SPY. SPY. Let's see. Carlton Harris, how to start from scratch. You can go to blackwealthmasterplan.com and take a look, or you can also go to the Black Stock Market Program.com. That's my stock market investing class. So feel free. You can do a 1 month trial in that class if you want. 30 days totally free. The Black Stock Market Program.com. All right. Nicole Jefferson, good morning. Should I invest $5 a day for all three of my children in one account? Or should I invest $5 a day in three different accounts? You know what? It doesn't really matter how you do it, actually, Nicole. You could literally open an account in the name of Nicole Jefferson and put some amount that's somewhat where close to whatever you can afford. $5 a day was arbitrarily picked by me because I had to deal with so many people in the beginning who used to tell me black people can't afford to invest. It was very infuriating to me because all the research says you got plenty of money. All the research says this. So when I started doing this stuff back in the day, 06, 07, 08, I was like, I'm tired of arguing with people about whether or not black people have money to invest. So I said, how about I pick $5 a day? Because you're never going to argue with me if I ask you, can black people afford to go to McDonald's? You're never going to argue with me if I say, can black people afford a Popeye's chicken value meal? So $5 a day was picked because that's less than the amount that it costs to buy a value meal at McDonald's or a Popeye's chicken meal. And I said, what happens if you invest $5 a day for each of your kids or for yourself or for your family, and you do that consistently? It becomes an enormous amount of money, an enormous amount of money, but you got to be in the game. You have to be in the stock market. And so that's why I picked that number. And it worked. It must have worked because people stopped arguing with me after that, right? Because I had an instant response and it shut them up very quickly. But really, I pick $5 a day for the people who don't believe. Like $5 a day is for those who are really, really struggling and don't really have a lot of confidence at all in what we can do, individually and as a people. For those of you that believe what I'm saying, or those of you that have a little something, something, then maybe you're driving a nice car. Maybe you've got money to pay for your kids to go to college. Maybe you got a little savings to the side. Maybe you are doing well on your black job, or you got a little business or whatever you got going on. $5 a day is the bare minimum. Like I personally think you can go to $20 a day, maybe $50 a day, right? And you don't have to do it daily. You don't have to invest each day, day. You can do it once a week. Auto deposit, $100 a week, $200 a week, whatever number is comfortable for you. All you got to do is make sure that you're buying stocks in the S&P 500 and make sure that you don't sell. That's it. Those are the only two instructions, or three instructions. Be consistent, buy in the S&P 500, and don't sell. You must be consistent because you cannot build wealth without consistent behavior typically. Number two, you want to invest in the S&P 500 because that's the only place you can invest where you can close your eyes and pick stocks and you're going to probably be okay because these are strong companies that know how to make money. Number three, you don't sell because that's what rich people do. Rich people buy stuff and they hold on to it and it goes up in value and that's how they become rich. It's like I'm sitting next to somebody and I'm 5'8". They keep telling me I'm 5'8", but they're lying. I think it's all fake news. I'm really 6'4". That's what in my mind, I'm 6'4", but they keep telling me I'm 5'8". The doctor, these doctors be faking and lying and stuff, telling me I'm 5'8". So I'm standing next to somebody, and let's pretend like the doctor's right. So I'm 5'8". And imagine if I'm standing next to another guy who's the same height as me, right? But let's say that every year he gets a little taller. And but I look down and I realize that every year he's getting taller. Next year he's 6 foot. Next year he's 6'4". Next year he's 6'8". Next year he's 7 foot. I'm mad. I'm angry because I'm still 5'8", right? And then let's say I look down and I realize that he's standing on top of a podium, and the podium is lifting him 6 inches up in the air every so often. Every few months, he gets just elevated another 6 inches. And so you can really make the analogy when it comes to wealth. Like my wealth is sitting here. I'm working hard. I'm busting my butt. I'm going to my black job every day. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. You ain't working as hard as me. But for some reason, your wealth is getting tall and my wealth is staying short. Your pockets are fat, my pockets are thin, and I don't understand what's going on. I'm mad about that. Right. So after I finish being mad, though, I should probably go investigate. Right. Because if I go investigate, what I'm going to say is like, oh, I know why you're taller than me. I know why your money's tall and my money's short. It's because you got this little podium you're standing on and it's elevating you 6 inches every few months. So that's why you're 7'5" now. It's not because you're better than me or you did something special. You took a special supplement or nutrient or whatever. It's because you had an advantage that I did not have. You were invested in the stock market. I was not. So as a worker where wages stay flat, workers' incomes are not going up, people. They are not going up. So I'm still busting my butt like I've been for the last 20 or 30 years. And not only is it staying flat, but the cost of living is going up. So I'm kind of sinking. The harder I work, the more I'm sinking, which is just kind of terrible, right? So what then happens is that you're looking over and you're seeing other people that seem like they just have plenty of money. And a lot of times it's because they understand the secret. The secret is not a secret. If the secret's the thing that sits in front of you in broad daylight. The secret is the stock market. That's what it is. A person who consistently invests in the stock market will get to the point where they're making more money not going to work than people are making by working overtime. So now the secret's out. What you gonna do with that information? So let me keep going. At 50 basis point drop, how does it affect dividend payments? The dividend will probably remain the same for most companies they see. What happens is that the dividend yield actually ends up going up a little bit because what happens is that they take the dividend amount, divide by the price of stock. As the price of stock goes down, the dividend yield goes up. Let's see. BJ says taxed at what point? I'm sorry, BJ. I wish I understood that question. Feel free to ask it again. But given that I see 38 questions, I may not be able to get to it today. But when we do another Q&A, just ask like a complete sentence. That way I can kind of know. Because if you ask me about something I was talking about 5 minutes earlier, my memory is bad. Now, and I see you keep mentioning Julian Gordon in the chat. Are you with Julian's team, or I like Julian, but I've seen you mentioned Julian like 47 times. And so if you're here marketing something, I would ask that you kind of like you could say it once, but please don't just keep repeating something over and over because it can kind of disrupt the chat a little bit. So if you could kind of like shout out to Julian Gordon. I like the guy, but this is not the place to kind of spam the other attendees like that. So let's try not to do that, okay? All right. So Terry says, "Good morning, Dr. Boyce. Is it a good idea to use a separate app for individual stocks and a separate app for ETFs?" Um, you can do that for sure. You can pick whatever strategy that's comfortable for you. There's no particular reason I can think of where it would be better to do that, but it's okay. I use different apps also because I think spreading across apps is just safer because one app, if one company has a hack and they end up going down, they can, you know, they can pretty much be gone. Your money might disappear. Yeah, I see. And you said someone asked about Julian. Yeah, I saw where someone asked about it, but it looked like I saw it mentioned by you several times. So I'm just asking like that we not get redundant. Like just answer the question once and then we can move on to something else. That way it doesn't get spammy. I don't want the chat to get I don't want anybody to feel like they're seeing the same message repeatedly. Okay. So no disrespect to you. I'm glad that you're here. But let's try to make sure we're communicating in a productive way with each other. All right. So Barry, for a non-US resident, is investing in stock markets outside the US just as effective, or is the key finding a way to invest in the American markets? The American markets are good, but investing internationally is good also. But you can invest internationally through American depository receipts. You can invest in an international mutual fund that invests in international companies. You don't have to make the investments in other countries yourself. And I would say be really careful, especially when you talk about things like buying property in other countries or continents. It's easy to lose a lot of money that way, especially when you're not participating in a liquid market. Because let's say that you say, hey, I want to go buy a house in Africa or something. It's fine to do that. That's great to do, but you got to make sure you have people that you really know and trust that can help you get through that process. because it might be tough for you to get your money out in the event that you decide you want to divest. So that's one of the reasons why I like the public markets a little bit more, because I can sell my asset in 30 seconds if I want to. It just makes for a simpler process. What's a good support level for Tesla? I have no idea, Prentice. I don't know. Elon Musk is an interesting guy. I was listening to a podcast about him today. He's interesting. He's interesting. That's all I'll say. He's very interesting. At what point would you recommend getting a CPA? Um, I would say that, having somebody help you with the taxes is obviously something we'd all want to do. Getting an accountant specifically for your business, I guess, would come down to whether you feel comfortable doing all that work yourself. I personally think that's always something to outsource if you can. It might just come down to how many hours you would want to pay somebody to work on that type of stuff. Since selling options, I wasn't sure if I should look into a CPA. Maybe not a CPA just yet, unless you're making a lot of money. I know some of you are making, five, $10,000 a week selling your options. In that case, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. It might be good to hire an accounting firm to help you just reconcile everything, make sure you're good with taxes and transactions and everything. Let's see. Armando says, "Do you think Diddy's arrest caused Johnson & Johnson stock to drop because he's buying in bulk?" That's funny. Yeah, he had the 1,000 bottles of baby oil. That's pretty crazy, right? It's kind of nasty too, but hilarious. David, I have a 19 and 21-year-old sons. What course do you suggest they start with? We do have a course called Young, Black, and Rich. And you can probably Google it. That's a good place for young people to start. Also, we have the whole school for young people, Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. I designed it for kids, but I found a lot of adults really benefit from it, because at that time, concepts that I thought were pretty straightforward and simple actually were not straightforward and simple. So I had to calibrate and realize, how little financial education we actually get in school. So things that I thought everybody knew, a lot of people didn't know it. So they were going through the kids program and learning a lot, and the kids were coming out with more financial literacy than their parents. So if you go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com, you can see we have kids courses on crypto, real estate, entrepreneurship, everything, investing, all that stuff. And so anybody, the whole family can use that. I think that's a great tool for pretty much anyone. Let's see here. Okay, a couple more questions and then we could bounce out for today. Philip Moss says, "Good morning. My son wants to cash in his 401k and use the funds to get his commercial pilot's license. He's 32 years old and aware of the penalty for early withdrawal. If you had a son thinking about taking this action, what advice do you provide?" Well, a lot of times with 401ks, you can borrow against it. You don't have to actually make the withdrawal. So I would try to see if there's a way to get around the penalty. The penalty is not the be all end all though. I know the penalty is significant, but I know people that have withdrawn and paid the penalty, and whatever they were withdrawing for was worth the trade-off. I guess I'd also be curious to know if the private pilot's license is an investment. Maybe he's becoming a pilot or something, or if he's just doing it for fun as a hobby. That makes a difference as well. So if he's going to go and become a pilot and he expects to be able to make a lot more money as a pilot, then maybe that's a good move. But I think also at the same time, you got to be careful when you cash in that retirement account, you're eliminating that financial security that came with that. So I think borrowing against it is a better option in the beginning than pulling all the money out. But that's this is not investment advice, but that's my belief. And then also if he gets a private pilot's license, because I didn't actually finish my private pilot's license, but I have a student pilot's license. Pilots don't make that much money. You think pilots with the responsibility they have would be just I think they should be paid a lot more money than they make. A lot of them don't make hardly any money at all. It's crazy. So if he is entrepreneurial though, and he can understand how to develop a business model around whatever he's doing as a pilot, I think that's the key. If you are an entrepreneur, you can take most skill sets and find some way to position yourself in a way where you're able to get the income that you're seeking. Even if whether you're a teacher or a doctor or anything, you don't ever just feel like you have to accept whatever your job is paying you. Just know you start by getting your mind even used to the possibility that you can make money without a job. That takes time. A lot of us have never been exposed to that reality. So get around people that know how to just go get money and see money and all that. And at first it's a little awkward, it's a little strange. You're being introduced to a new culture, just like the slaves. The slaves had a hard time getting used to being free. Like, wait, I can travel when I want to, right? But once you get used to it, you'll never go back. Most people I know who tell me if you're in this category, most people I know who quit their job and start making money on their own, they just never go back. Even if their business isn't doing as well as they want, most of them never go back. Every now and then, I'll talk to somebody who says, "Yeah, I had to go back to my job because the money was tight," but that's rare. I mean, literally, the last person I can remember talking to who said that to me was like 2018, and even she went back to her job with a different mindset. She saw her job as temporary. She saw her job as something that she would do until she could get her business going. So she was hybrid. It's like it's really it's a little bit like leaving an abusive relationship. Like you maybe you break up with the person who's mistreating you and you're single for a little while. So you start dating somebody new, and then you think then you kind of try to go back to the old relationship, but you can't because you're different now. You've changed. You've been treated, maybe you've been treated better, right? So then you're sort of stuck in between, right? You don't know. You kind of conflicted. And I think it's the same way. I think that the most of the time, most Black people I know, their relationship with their job is an abusive economic relationship. So once they leave that space and they go into the space of freedom and they operate there for a little while, they might go back to the old relationship, but they're never the same. They're kind of like one foot in and one foot out. Like so they're kind of doing the job, but they're also building the side hustle because the side hustle is connected to your dream. The side hustle is where you live spiritually and mentally, and that's really where the universe is telling you you're supposed to be. Why? Why do I know that? Well, I know that because you're in a space that was picked by you. You're in a space that where your passion resides. Do you understand? Like that's naturally you're I know you're supposed to be there because you picked it. You picked that space. Nobody else did. Your boss is the one who's telling you go in the back and pick up those boxes or file these reports. You don't want to do that. There's no passion there. You feel sometimes a bad job can just make you feel spiritually dead. And you're what you're feeling is very natural because you're doing something that maybe on the surface at the end of the day you're like, man, this doesn't even seem meaningful at all, right? So I want you to learn economics and teach your kids economics for this simple reason. I'm gonna say this, then we're gonna be done for the day. I want you to teach your kids economics so they can then find something to do with their time on this earth that means something to them, that means something to them every day. Like all they got to do is figure out how to make $5,000 or $6,000 a month. I told my daughter, I said, the difference between freedom and slavery for a lot of people is $5,000 a month. If you can figure out, if you can solve that one problem, that solving that one problem will give you more value in your life than a college degree ever will. Can you just solve that one problem? Can I figure out how to make 5,000 a month without having to give away my life and spend all my time, on the corporate plantation? If you can solve that one problem, and there are people that can help you do that, get with people that can help you do that. If you can solve that one problem, it opens up a whole universe of possibilities where you can start picking, your profession and your day-to-day work based on what you love instead of having to pick the profession that's going to pay you the most money. It's like think about it. Imagine dating where the only thing you could do is pick the man or pick the woman that has money. And you can't, it don't matter what they look like, doesn't matter how they treat you, doesn't matter if they're fat or thin or tall or short or, personality. All is like, well, they make the most money. I'm going to date him. I'm going to date her. And look at how that works out for people. It almost never does. It never works out. They're never happy, right? So free yourself, liberate yourself, learn those basics in economics, spend time around people that have a similar mindset. You'll get there. It takes time. Make sure your kids are raised in that culture, right? And then when they get to where they're deciding what they want to do with their lives, they're not just picking based on money. They have consciousness. Consciousness is multidimensionality. Consciousness is when you elevate to different dimensions. So now instead of their career choice being one dimensional, like, well, I picked this because it's paid me the most money, it can be multidimensional. They could say, yeah, the money's nice, but I also love this and love this and love this and love this and love this. And now I'm fulfilled. Now I am full because I had a 4 or 5 course meal instead of eating gummy bears all day and having that be my whole dinner. That's what it is. Imagine sitting down, you're eating gummy bears and that's it. That's what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. That's not nutritious for your body. So your spiritual body can't just eat economic gummy bears, can't just eat dollar bills. Your spiritual body needs a variety of spiritual nutrients that are going to keep you full. Do you understand? Like I know, I hope that analogy wasn't too weird, but I hope you get what I'm saying. You're a human being. You don't have to be one dimensional, but you got to prepare for that. Okay, because I think other people want us to be one dimensional. They just want us to fit in a box. I don't want to fit in nobody's damn box. I'm going to fit in God's box. And God's box is as big as the freaking universe. So that means I can be anything, go anywhere, do anything, and be who the hell I want. You're not going to tell me who I'm going to be ever. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. God bless you. I hope you have a great day today. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Make sure you're on the text list if you want to get an invitation to Money in the Morning. It's 10 a.m. Eastern. Text the word morning, MORNING, to the phone number 87948. Text morning to 87948. You can also go to was it I can't remember what the URL is. I was going to give it to you, but B1 Money Tips. That's right. If you live in another country, you can go to b1moneytips.com. That's the URL that Micah picked. So it's for those of you that live in other countries that can't text the word morning. So just go to b1moneytips.com. You can also join there. And don't forget, next week we're going to do the meeting for the ABNC. We could talk about that. You can learn more about what we're going to do at the convention in October 25th. And it's going to be in Chicago. And then secondly, tonight, Michael Edwards is doing a Forex event tonight in the Black Business School. I'll text you guys a link to that too. And if you don't, if you're not on the text list, you can also email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can send you the information. So that'll be later on tonight. I won't be able to make it because today's Taylor's homecoming, and she's on the dance team, the Palms or whatever. So it's the homecoming. So I gotta go check that out and support her. So anyway.